Hello and welcome to Stories and Lessons. My name is Amy Ebert and I'm your host for today's podcast. Welcome back to this series, All Things Storytelling. What happens when you stop trying to fit in and start owning who you truly are? Stories from today's episode explore just that with the incredible comeback of Johnny Cash and how producer Rick Rubin helped him find his true voice that had gone unnoticed for over 2 decades. Cash had spent those decades wearing the armor of industry expectations, much like David trying to fight Goliath in King Saul's armor. But when Cash stripped it all back and embraced his raw, authentic self, just listen and we'll get into it. Johnny Cash's career took an unexpected turn in the early 90s when he teamed up with Rick Rubin, the legendary producer best known for his work in hip-hop and rock. By this time, Cash had been in the music industry for over 35 years, but he was struggling to stay relevant. The hits that once defined him had dried up, and his label, Columbia Records, dropped him in 1986. For nearly 25 years, Cash had not produced a single chart-topping album or major hit. 25 years, friends. By 1993, Johnny Cash was playing smaller venues, and while still a legend, seemed out of place in the new musical landscape. Needless to say, he had given up on the possibility of creating anything great ever again. Enter Rick Rubin. Rubin was known for producing iconic albums for acts like the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, and Slayer, but country music, not exactly his forte. However, Rubin has an ear for authenticity and a love for music that transcends genres. The two met in Rubin's home studio in Los Angeles, which was as low-key as you could get for a rock producer. Rubin, with his long beard and laid-back vibe, pitched something radical. Let's strip away all the production bells and whistles and let Johnny's voice and guitar do the talking. No fancy studio effects, no backup singers, just Cash's raw, rugged voice and a guitar. Cash, who was well into his 60s by then, 60s, it's never too late, initially found this approach odd but intriguing. Rubin understood what made Johnny Cash special: his authenticity, his grit, and his ability to tell a story. Rubin didn't want to reinvent Cash. He wanted to reveal the essence of who Johnny Cash was to a new generation. They began recording what would become American Recordings, Cash's comeback album. The sessions were simple. Rubin often had Cash alone with his guitar, recording in Rubin's living room, or even Cash's cabin in Tennessee. Side note, you know why they recorded in these places and not in the studio after they found this wonderful music? Anybody know what happened when they recorded in the studio after this beautiful new raw creation that they had found in Rubin's home? It didn't work. Same song, didn't work. It didn't sound the same. They couldn't recreate it. Not in that way, anyway. The album was released in 1994 to critical acclaim. American Recordings was unlike anything anyone expected from Johnny Cash at that point in his career. The stripped-down, intimate sound resonated deeply, particularly with younger audiences who may have never paid attention to the country star before. And it worked! Cash was back, baby! American Recordings earned him a Grammy Award for Best Contemporary Folk Album and led to a revitalization of his career. Rick Rubin didn't just help Johnny Cash make a hit, he reignited a fire in Johnny Cash's career that had long been dimmed. And he did it by doing what Rubin does best, cutting through the noise and honing in on the heart of the music. The collaboration stands as a testament to the power of seeing potential in someone, even when the world seems to have moved on. Success comes when you lean into your true self, instead of conforming to what others think you should be. One more story to drive this lesson home. Now, we all know the story of David and Goliath, right? The little guy taking on the big guy, the odds stacked against him, but there's an interesting part that sometimes goes overlooked. Before David went out to fight Goliath, King Saul tried to help him by offering his own armor. Now, Saul's armor was impressive, no doubt. It was meant for a warrior, a king. It was heavy, it was intimidating, but it wasn't David. He put it on and he was like, this isn't me. It doesn't fit. I can't move in this. So he took it off and stepped into the battle as his raw, unpolished self with just a sling and some stones. Now, Fast forward to Johnny Cash in the 90s. For years, Cash had been like David, wearing someone else's armor. He was out there in the world of flashy music, doing things that didn't quite fit him. The hits weren't coming in, and the industry was starting to view him as irrelevant. He was being overshadowed by a new generation of artists, his metaphorical Goliath. Cue Rick Rubin. He comes in, and what does he say? He's like, Johnny, let's take off the armor, strip it all back. No backup singers, no fancy production, no bells and whistles, just you. Your guitar and your instrument, your voice. And what happens? When Johnny Cash finally steps back into his true, raw self, without all the noise, he hits Goliath square on the forehead. The guy makes one of the most critically acclaimed albums of his career, decades after people had written him off. It's the same lesson as David and Goliath. You don't need to put on someone else's idea of what success looks like. You don't need to wear armor that doesn't fit you. Whether you're an artist, a business owner, or just trying to figure out your next move, sometimes the best thing you can do is strip it all back and let your authentic self come through. Johnny Cash wasn't going to beat his inner Goliath with the industry's armor. David wasn't going to beat Goliath with King Saul's armor. But when they both stepped into who they truly were, they won. Why am I telling you this? This ties into our universal theme of authenticity and staying true to your core strengths, which is critical for your personal brand to shine through. Whether you're stepping in front of the camera or stepping into your life's battles, it's about not trying to be what others expect, but embracing who you truly are. That's where the real power comes in play. Having said that, thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you got value from what we've provided, why not spread the love by sharing this episode with someone? Subscribe to or follow the show so you never miss an episode, and give us a positive 5-star review or a thumbs up, depending on which platform you're currently on. For more stories and lessons, check out some of my other episodes in the series. Thank you for showing up, and be well.